With inflation speeding faster than it has more than a decade ago, many stock market investors are starting to panic. I mean, on Wednesday, I'm definitely sure that you saw that the S&P 500 fell by over 2.1%, which I definitely think, or it brought a lot more panic to the stock market investors, as you will remember that this is an index with top 500 companies in the US. This just simply meant that majority of the companies in that index were on a downtrend, especially to the some of the big tech stocks. Many people or many investors who invest in those tech stocks, they were seriously panicking. Some even went to an extent whereby they were declaring that they just sold their stocks, and instead of them continuing to invest in the stocks, they were transferring or taking their money into cryptocurrency. Now, one of the certified financial planners, who is the president of the Bonafide Wealth, indicated that it's too soon for investors to panic because of seeing these downtrends that we are seeing in most of the stocks that we own in the US, which I definitely agree with him, because you'll remember that the stock market has not actually done that bad. I mean, looking at the fact of the kind of rewards or the returns that many investors made from some of the big tech stocks last year in the stock market, I don't think that we are at that moment where it's that bad in a way. I mean, looking at the big indexes like S&P 500, you will realize that the S&P 500, looking from last year Jan to date, it has went up by over 20%, and of course that is as per the Morningstar, or the report by the Morningstar. Yeah, so though many stocks have been dropping from Feb this year to date, I definitely think that the big drops that we are seeing, especially in the EV sector, are not supposed to scare us in a way that we start selling off our shares, because it's like we are tending to forget of how much returns we got from investing in these stocks last year. I definitely think that what we are seeing in the market is a market sort of like reacting to the high inflation rate that we are seeing in the US. And especially with the tech stocks, this rapid rise of interest is what's seriously making the stocks in the technology sector to seriously drop. Otherwise, with all that, allow me to welcome you to yet another awesome video. Now, on today's video, we'll be looking at some of the things that you need to look into, especially looking at the stock market this week, because for so many people don't know why is the stock market dropping this heavily. So please do watch this video until the end, because at the end of this video, I definitely think that you will know part of the reason why the stock market is falling and what it is that I definitely think that you ought to be doing instead of panicking and selling your shares. Otherwise, with all that, please know that I'm not a professional financial advisor. If you seek professional financial advice, you already know what to do. You need to go consult the professionals. So this past Wednesday, a lot of the US stocks took a very serious hit as the key inflation data show a higher than expected price pressures. I mean, as you noticed on Wednesday, the S&P 500 fell by over 2.1%, which, like I said in the beginning of this video, brought a lot of panic to the investors, as many of the stocks on Wednesday fell so rapidly. Even the tech-heavy Nasdaq features lost about 0.7%, which, once again, guys, it affected almost all tech stocks. They were downtrend. I mean, you will notice these big giants like Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft, they were all dropping, or they dropped a bit this past week, Wednesday, and this is due to the higher than expected key inflation data. So the rapid rise of interest is what's causing so many stocks to go downtrend, because you will realize that, especially with the tech stocks, from February this year, these stocks have been dropping so rapidly because of this rapid rise of interest. I mean, it is seriously affecting these tech stocks. I mean, you realize that, especially with my favorite sector or industry, which is the EV sector, for the month of April, most EV companies failed to beat their March deliveries. And you will notice by now that this is not the only problem with the EV sector. The EV sector, yes, is being affected by this rapid rise of interest, but there is another thing that is sort of like slowing down the production in this sector. And of course, you will know by now that the shortage of semiconductors is another thing that is seriously impacting this EV sector. I mean, you remember that for the Q1 of 2021, most EV companies, though they beat the expected deliveries, they were expecting to sort of like deliver more cars, which this shortage of the semiconductors is kind of like affecting them in terms of production and delivering better deliveries than the deliveries they were delivering in the previous months. I mean, looking at Tesla, for example, the car sales for the month of April dropped by over 27% looking or when comparing them to the sales that they generated in March. So this is one of the things that's just sort of like slowing down this industry. The shortage of semiconductors and the rapid rise of interest, it is seriously affecting this industry. This is why you see most of the stocks in this industry dropping like nobody's business. This is why you see companies like my favorite stock in this industry, which is NIO, dropping so heavily. I mean, you remember that for the month of April, NIO reported total deliveries of 7,102 vehicles, which was a 2% drop from the vehicles they had reported in March. So this is once again just showing you of the kind of damage that is being caused by not only this rapid rise of interest, but also the shortage of the semiconductors. But the good thing with the shortage of the semiconductors, it is expected to be at ease around the second half of this year, which is something that brings a lot of excitement to us and investors, because we know that once this problem of the semiconductors is lifted, then these EV car companies can even deliver more vehicles, which is something that brings us greater joy, and which is something that I definitely think that for those who are investing or who invest in this EV sector need to remember that once this shortage of the semiconductors is out of the way, then these EV companies will be able to produce better results. I mean, already we can see that with this shortage of semiconductors, these EV companies are still doing good. So imagine what will happen if the shortage of the semiconductors is out of the way. So yes, we know that the rapid rise of interest is something that should be implicating or affecting the stock market for some time, but it is something that is expected to also come at ease or to be at ease in the near future. So I definitely think that, guys, don't lose your focus and end up selling these good quality stocks. Instead, I think what you ought to be doing now is to loading up on these good quality tech stocks, or loading up on these stocks that you've always been wanting to load, but because they were expensive, you were kind of like hesitant. But now it's the big opportunity. In this, most of these top quality stocks are on sale. This is the very same thing that I'm doing right now to the stocks that I like. Just yesterday, I loaded more, or I added more positions on my NIO holdings, because I definitely believe on the strong fundamentals that this stock has, and which is something that I think I should also let you know, to say that, guys, it's not like the fundamentals of these stocks are changing. The fundamentals are not changing. It's just that the economy, it's not in a good state, which is why we are sort of like seeing this downtrend in most of the stocks. But I definitely think that it should be something that should come to pass in the near future. Otherwise, guys, as I've said, I definitely think that instead of panicking and selling your stocks or your good quality stocks, I definitely think that you need to be adding more positions on to those stocks, because once everything it's back to normal, once the rapid rise of interest it's stable, then I definitely think that these stocks will definitely pick up and will generate you once more tons and tons of money. Otherwise, guys, with all that, I make tons and tons of stock market investing videos, and if you think that this video was very informative, please don't forget to hit that like button. If you are new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so that YouTube can notify you every time I release a video. Otherwise, guys, that's all from me today, and I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey, and God bless you all.